Well, welcome. These workshops are really our attempt at making sure that you can filter out all the scatter and the chatter and all the craziness that's going on and in the social media, on the news and everywhere else, and help you just start focusing on saying what we would call the truth of healing. We can all have pains and problems and aches and medical issues, but ultimately they all come from a specific root. And that root is us not treating our bodies the way they were intended. We live in a very toxic environment, truly. It's very unnatural in a sense. Our human bodies are not used to sitting there doing the same work all day long, or even walking on hard, surfaces all day long. That's really unnatural for us as human beings. And the fact that most of us breathe a bunch of junky air all day. We're all inside, me included, right? So what we want to do is just start continuing to put little bits of information out to you so you can say, hey, that's one part of my life that I think I could start to change easily. Hopefully most things we talk about are simple. They're easy. You can do them anytime, anywhere. Nothing we're saying is you need thousands of dollars to buy this piece of equipment or this supplement. It's more about how do you help your body heal from the inside out. And that's what chiropractic is built on, inside out thinking. Our world's built on outside in thinking, meaning that you need this, or you need to buy that, or you need this drug to make you feel better on the inside. So we take things from the outside and put them in and see, hopefully we feel better. But truly our insides are what does the healing. We call that innate intelligence in chiropractic. And when you're getting an adjustment, we're trying to allow that innate intelligence that we call that the universal force of healing that created you. We try to release that power to heal you. And when your body knows that there's a problem, is aware of it, because you're not interfered with as much, your spine is in better alignment, then the nervous system can communicate from the brain to the body. That's simple chiropractic. What's that have to do with walking? There's a lot to do with it. Our bodies were built to move, 100% built to move. We were not giving all these joints to sit in a chair all day. I always think of Pinky and the Brain and how the brain just is the brain. If we were supposed to be just a brain, we'd be a brain. All we were going to do is think and talk. We're built to move. And the more we move our body, the healthier it will be. And there's a lot of things to understand about that. If our bodies are very dysfunctional, there might be some things about walking and moving that are not healthy. So that's why you have me, just to look at that each time on the table and help work through those. But ultimately, once your body's moving, that is the key. So we're going to talk about how important walking is, the power of it, and all the things that, really can change when we're talking about just the simple act of making a habit to walk. Just making a simple habit to walk. So we're going to go over, is walking actually a good workout? So simple. Is it really working anything? We'll go over that. Is there benefits to walking to your cardiovascular system? Do you really need to get 10,000 steps a day? I hope so. You all do need 1,000 steps at the minimum, but 10,000, maybe that's a little stretch. We'll talk about what the research shows, okay? Is it good for your spine? Absolutely. Think of it as a pump. We'll talk about this. And can you fit this, how do I fit this in? Because ultimately, if I give you knowledge without you being able to implement it, that leads to depression, to be honest. You just feel bad. Feel like, that's another thing I can't do. So we don't want to try to just give you information without implementation. So we hope to get you motivated to implement some of these simple things, okay? We'll talk about some of the myths for this moment. The myths of walking. It doesn't count as a real workout. Not true. Not true at all. You do not have to hit 10,000 steps. 30 minutes continuously to see any benefit? That's not true. That's not true. There are some studies that will show very little amount of time, but a huge benefit. Again, movement is huge. Probably the more often you move in the day, the better off you are. It doesn't have to be a continuous exercise sweating it out, all right? And it just, because you're not fit enough or you feel like it hurts to run or jog is why you should walk. No. Even people who are fit enough to do all these things should walk. We'll go through that. That's some of the myths. The CDC recommends 150 minutes of moderate activity a week. Brisk walking definitely qualifies. Okay, so it's definitely a workout. Brisk walk where you're maybe having to, you're breathing a little bit heavier. That's a brisk walk. 150 minutes moderate activity day, that's 30 minutes 5 times a week, right? And it's 30 minutes 5 times a week. That's what that is. A Harvard study was done that showed that just those 30 minutes a day reduced heart disease risk by 19%. That's significant, right? That's 1 in 5 people who would have had a heart attack who just started walking didn't. That's pretty huge, just by walking. Do you need your 10,000 steps? It's a good benchmark for a daily goal, it really is. But the number actually originated just from a marketing campaign. It was a nice round number. Most things that were sold, most things we're told to buy because they're healthy or do blah, 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 is all marketing. We're being educated by commercials. We're not really being educated by science or truth. So just things to think about when you realize these things. As little as 4,000 to 5,000 steps is definitely starts to show some health benefit. So at least getting that benchmark of some movement is key. As few as 7,000 steps a day can definitely significantly lower mortality, especially in adults over 40 years old. So if you're over 40 and you're getting at least 7,000 steps, you significantly reduce your mortality. That's from the JAMA. Third myth, do you have to do 30 minutes continuously? Actually not. Most people, when we work, we kind of end up getting stuck in positions. The more we change and modify, the better off we are. And same with walking. It can be broken throughout the day. It could be segments, even 10 minutes. 3 sessions of 10 minutes can happen. Even a half-hour break for lunch. You could walk for 10 and eat for 20, right? You could walk 10 minutes before work. You could walk 10 minutes after work. And that's minimal. That's just motivation, right? Not like you can't find 10 minutes. We all blow through 10 minutes doing stuff we probably don't need to be. This could be something very beneficial 5 times a week to make a huge difference. Walking can definitely offer similar health benefits. There was a study that was done where they took marathon runners and they compared them to probably an average blue-collar worker that probably was somewhat on their feet. We'll say a mechanic. You're kind of on your feet, you're moving throughout the day, but they're not running a marathon, all right? The marathon runners had a higher mortality than the people who were the mechanics. And the part of this study that I didn't tell you yet was that those marathon runners, they probably were like more of your white-collar worker. They were stuck in a chair 6 or so hours a day. So even though they could put on a bunch of miles all at once and they could run and jog, they had a sooner likelihood of death than someone who just kind of moved their body gently throughout the day. So just because you can't run or jog doesn't mean I'm just sacrificing walking. Walking can still be huge. It's about the movement. It's about continuous exercise. All right. So blood pressure, cholesterol levels, just again, movement is health. Movement is health. I mean, I'd love to see you sweat it out. I'd love to see you increase your heart rate once or twice a week where you're pushing yourself. But that doesn't mean that has to be if you can't do that, it's not beneficial. Not true at all. Okay. Think, I just have to walk because that's where I got to get places, right? It's exercising your posture. It's exercising your body, and it's really a stress relief. All rolled in one. That's very much. People are more creative, they're more calm, they're more relaxed with just a couple minutes of getting outside and walking. Some of that's being outside. We did a workshop called Ecotherapy. You can try to find it, but this ecotherapy talks about all the benefits of just getting outside. Huge, especially in the sense of stress relief. Like nature has cures just by being in that fresh air. So walking just gets you out there usually, right? Now some people, maybe they should just walk on a treadmill because they're challenged and they need minimal amounts, but getting outside is the key. So here's the benefits. Like, why are we even having this talk? Well, look at this. Look at all the benefits. All the benefits to walking. Your cortisol is that stress hormone that's released. Walking, that reduces that. Blood pressure. Creativity, I told you. Creativity. Many of the high functioning, CEOs and people, when they're doing their meetings, they walk and meet. They don't just sit there. Autophagy is where the body actually gets rid of weak cells. So even exercise and different processes you do, if you're killing off weak cells, that's good. You want to get those died off and you want to replace them with healthier cells. And walking does this. And yeah, there's plenty of people, we've probably seen some people say, I've walked off 100 pounds. That's very true. You could. Why is your spine and walking so connected? What's the key here? Walking is going to cause your spine to be in certain motions, almost acting it to be a pump. Your spine has fluid inside of it, and that cerebral spinal fluid should flow from your brain down your spinal cord and back up. And that fluid should flow. That's kind of the nutrition for your brain and your spinal cord. It gets pumped through movement. Your sacrum down here, it kind of moves in like a figure 8 motion when you walk. It does this figure 8 kind of motion. And that motion starts to kind of flex and bend and move the spine. Plenty of folks in my office who are really stiff, and maybe even some really bad problems, I still tell them if you can get some movement, it actually pumps out inflammation. So at the very minimum, if you're inflamed, but you at least can walk, you're not limping to walk, all right? You're not really, your gait isn't that altered, then I would get moving for a couple minutes just to pump the blood. It increases blood flow, which gets rid of inflammation around your joints. You'll adjust better, you'll feel better, right? So when you have to walk though, you challenge your core muscles. They have to engage to some degree, and that's huge for you because you want those muscles to be stronger and tighter. If you're going to be walking, I want you to imagine that there's like a string on the top of your head, and that when you're making those steps, you're being stretched and tall. And if you ever think, oh man, I got this bad posture, and if I said, hey, correct your posture, don't go like this. Just think tall. Just imagine, let's practice it real quick. Let's practice it. When you guys are sitting in a chair, first thing you ever want to do is get your butt as far back, like there's a bullseye right where the chair and right where those meet. That's first going to just keep you from slouching, right? And then what I want you to do is just imagine there's a string on top of your head and that's pulling you straight up. Go and imagine that, just straight up. Ear above your shoulder, shoulder above your hip. And if you're standing, your hip would be above your ankle. So if I was to draw a line, it would go right up from my ankle, kind of my pant seam right now, right? That pant seam shouldn't go like this. It should stay straight through my hip, shoulder, and my ear. I just want to be tall. When I think tall when I'm standing too, I almost imagine like my tailbone's being pulled up. Not excessive, okay? This is what we call an increased pelvic tilt. Something like that. It's too much. The opposite of that is where your body's too tucked, and we call this kind of this sway back, where your tailbone's way too tucked under. You want a curve, not too much, not too little, but just enough. And when you pull up, I'm putting my hips underneath my torso and my tailbone's slightly pushed out, so there's a curve. These curves act like shock absorbing springs, and that's how you want to stand. You want to practice that when you're walking. Very, very important to practice when you're walking. There's an 11-year study that was done with over 2,000 adults. They were taking over 7,000 steps a day, so it wasn't just your 4,000 or 5,000, but they did have a lower risk of dying from any cause. Any cause. Absolutely any cause. So they were moving every day, not over 10,000. I mean, you're talking about going to Cedar Point. Do you ever track your steps when you've been there?
I get some pretty good, like,
do you remember
getting here 20,000?
Yeah. You could get like, people go to theme parks, usually they tell me 20,000 steps. So 10,000 steps doesn't mean that you're killing it all day, but it still means that you're up and having to move, and that's the key. If you just gently do your activities throughout the day and you're not just sitting there, 10,000 is pretty easy. 7,000 is pretty, if you went for a walk in the morning and for 30 minutes, you're probably going to get 2,000 to 3,000 steps from that, usually. If you do like a 30-minute walk. So then you just got your normal stuff throughout the day. So I think adding like that walk in probably with your normal movements throughout the day would get 7,000 without too much work. So these people weren't they're probably just taking an extra half-hour walk. Not extra, but at least one of those. But people who did fewer steps than that definitely didn't see the results. And this is just walking. We're not talking about making you do anything crazy. So one of the ways you can integrate this into your life, let's talk about some of the ways you could do that. You could pair it with a daily habit. We call this stacking. You can walk during your lunch, like I said, maybe during phone calls if you're able to do that. After dinner, a good walk really helps to kind of help the body digest and calm down and move that blood around. All your blood's kind of stuck in your stomach. You want to kind of move that around a little bit more. Getting out in nature, using trails, hikes, those are ways to get steps in. It's a little bit more enjoyable than feeling you just got to hit the pavement. And honestly, it's so much better for you to be on almost like an uneven, natural surface versus just something hard. I think people come in and say, I've been trying to walk, and we notice that that's kind of causing some issues when they get too many steps, but they always complain about the roads because they're pitched. Your roads are pitched. So ideally, if you're walking on hard roads, you probably want to walk in the middle of the road. Now, if you get hit, don't blame me. That's not my fault. That's you not using your head, but the middle of the road is probably better than each side is kind of on each pitch. So you're not too stressed. If you have to if you don't have sidewalks are less pitched, so you're better off with sidewalks. Or just go to a track, find something. Price Park here in North Canton, a monument, you get plenty of places to walk that's flat. But if you just got to get out of your house and walk, know that you probably, if you're if you're walking against traffic on the way away from your home, walk against traffic on the way back, so that you kind of equal it out. So one leg is technically a little lower than the other leg, but then you switch it. That's probably shouldn't cause a lot of problems. If it does, there's some major issues we got to work with. And maybe walking isn't the thing. Maybe finding something to move your body that's more gentle. Maybe getting into water aerobics. Maybe it's just not a treadmill, but like an elliptical bike or a bicycle. Moving is key. But right now we're talking about the walking. Those are some things to do that. Take movement breaks every 2 to 3, every hour, doing 2 to 3 minutes of just some walking, right? You may even try to meditate and walk. We call this extra stacking. You're trying to help what we'd call the think well part of your body. With the move well, you could do a gratitude walk, do a walking meditation. You can find these on YouTube or even a lot of the apps that we can get, and you can put those in your ears and walk and be working your mind and your body out at the same time. Accountability is huge. So if you can find someone to walk with you, that's even better. That's kind of the key. We have created kind of a walking tips downloadable. So if you can probably screenshot this and we'll find it for you later. If you guys want to get this is on our website. It will be up when we download this to the website. You'll get all these kind of fun daily tips and ways to incorporate walking. These are great little things. All right. Wow, I blew through that quite quickly. I appreciate you guys being on. Thank you guys for coming. See you, everybody. Bye-bye.